So one of the themes of our botanical explorations is seeing how certain plants have affinity to certain substrates. And the striking contrast is between plants that like high pH, calcareous soil conditions, including especially actual limestone, which will contrast with places of acidic soil, low pH, which has sandstone as the base. So we are at Griggs Reservoir, and Scioto River is right over there. And we're standing on limestone, and some of the vegetation here are plants that have a striking affinity to limestone, some of which are mentioned in the geobotany article by Jane Forsyth, and others of which she didn't happen to mention, but we'll point them out too, because they also have a distinct affinity for calcareous sites. So what's this tree up here?
Sure. So we've got a chinkapin oak here. And you can tell that by just, looking at the leaves here. They've got the nice, it gets broader near the tip and then, points out there. And yeah, very fond of limey soils, or I guess basic soils, high pH. And yeah, very fond of limey soils, or I guess basic soils, high pH.
What I like about chinkapin oak is that it looks an awful lot like dwarf chestnut oak, Quercus montana, the one that has an affinity to acid sites that we'll see at deep woods, and they're very, very similar. So we'll have a chance to compare the two. Holy cow! Leaflet's 3 let it be. This is the most poison ivy look-alike plant there is that isn't poison ivy. This is called hop tree, Telea trifoliata, or trifolia. I think it's in the Rutaceae, the citrus family. I'm not totally sure. But yeah, it just looks an awful lot like poison ivy, and by a funny coincidence, well, it's not exactly a coincidence, it's a very widely distributed plant. Here is actual poison ivy growing right next to it. Speaking of leaflets 3 let it be, there's another one with leaflets 3. Should we let it be?
No, this is fine to touch. This is fragrant sumac, Rhus aromatica. So this is a species that is actually closely related to poison ivy and also poison sumac, but it's not poisonous, and it is fragrant, as its common name, fragrant sumac, suggests. And it's got some nice, cute, fuzzy fruits coming on right now, which we believe are drupes, is the fruit type.
And what's its ecology with respect to chemical substrate stuff?
This is a calciphile, so it does prefer that basic soil.
It seems limestone areas are especially prone to invasive plants. Well, this is one darn invasive plant. This is called Callery pear, sometimes called Bradford pear, Pyrus callery, and it's in the rose family, and it's very, very abundant. It's so indistinctive you don't notice it, but about a month ago when these guys were flowering, all over roadsides and the edges of woods. It's a horticultural plant that's strongly disfavored by people that like native plants. The horticulturalists, some of them said that, so what, these plants we're selling are sterile. But it turned out that there were different strains that were interfertile, so the so-called sterile plants were able to mate with each other and make a lot of pairs that are kind of a big weed problem now. So boo hiss, Callery pear.